Today is January 23rd. Tomorrow it's going to be 11 months of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine. And it made me realize that when all of that just started in February of 2022 year, all of us were counting days. So we knew exactly what day of war it was. It was the 5th day of war, it was the 16th day of war, or 23rd day of war. But at some point, we stopped counting days and started counting months. And it's made me realize that what if we stop counting months and we start counting years? This is what's been on my mind lately.
End of 2021, beginning of 2022, we had a lot of plans. I had a lead role in a TV series playing a basketball player, and my fiancé just finished filming another season, playing a detective in a lab. We finally had money.
We were like, yeah, we have everything. We have this beautiful dinner, we have this beautiful occasion to celebrate, we have these people who loves us and who we love. And it felt so good. And at the same time, we have this conversation, what are you gonna do if the war started? What are you gonna do? And my Vlad went, I'm gonna go to the territorial defense or to the army. And I was like, whoa, good to know. Like, no, nothing happens. I can't let Vlad go to the army. He has never had a gun in his hand. He can't go there, so the war can't happen.
Russia suddenly invaded my country for no apparent reason? This crazy old man might determine whether I get the chance to grow old with the love of my life or not. I was born in Kiev, lived my whole life in Kiev. My mom, my dad, my Vlad, my friends, everyone I know is here. In mid-February, my older sister rang me, asking me, "What are you going to do if the war starts?"
And I was like, I don't know. Why are you asking me this? When it started, we'll see, because I didn't believe that this is gonna happen. I was like, nah, this is too dangerous. And the war is already going on from 2014. They already have the Crimea. Why do they need Kiev? They're not gonna have Kiev, right?
My sister couldn't imagine staying in a war, and I couldn't imagine leaving. And neither of us could believe we were having this conversation. And it was all still hypothetical. But suddenly, there were all these new things to ask yourself and each other. February 24th. The morning the Russian tanks rolled over the borders, Russian soldiers poured into Kiev, and missiles rained down from the sky. We'd gotten up at 4 in the morning to drive west to the Carpathian Mountains. Yep, we were going on a holiday. At 6:40, just as the sun was coming up, messages started pouring in on my university group chat saying, "Did you hear that explosion?"
All of the cars were like in huge line, waiting, but all of the cars were going to the western Ukraine, and we were coming back closer to Russian border, and everybody was going the other way.
We ended up spending the next 2 months in the village where Vlad grew up with his mom and grandmother. So we could wait it out and get some more information on what this war would mean for us. I was reading constantly about towns at the edge of Kiev being occupied, bombs falling where my friends lived. Vlad wanted to join territorial defense in Kiev, but I was afraid. So 1 week into the war, he enlisted in the village instead. When he left for his first shift,
It was the night, yeah. I waited for him. I haven't slept. It was a fight between a cold brain and some feelings and some emotions that I had, because I understood, like, I don't hear any sirens, right? I don't hear any shotguns or explosions. So it's safe. I don't hear anything. So nothing is happening, right? But still I can just think, oh, he's gonna be okay. I'm gonna go to sleep. It's impossible.
Even once the Russian army retreated from Kiev, the city was still really dangerous. There was regular shooting and more Russian soldiers arriving in the suburbs. But I desperately wanted to go back.
To sleep in my bed, to have the place for myself.
To see my mom, actually be able to get to her if anything happened.
And I started to search for some translations, work, maybe voiceovers.
Slowly, I started getting gigs, interpreting interviews over the phone for journalists. A woman who fled Kharkiv on a bike, a guy who was recording fairy tales for kids to listen to in the bomb shelters. But eventually, an international media outlet asked me to come back to Kiev and interpret in person. Vlad gave me a ride to Kiev, and when we were driving into the city,
I saw all of the tanks on the road. I saw destroyed buildings. I saw the huge holes from the bullets, from the pieces of missiles. And this was my first time when I was actually touching this war. This is my area. I knew everything in it. A maternity hospital that was destroyed. There was a huge hole in the wall. And I was like, this is a maternity hospital. It was so just like bullet holes. I was crying. It's just like destroying my house, you know? It's like they went into my space, they invaded my space, they invaded my property, my home. And I was so angry.
The next morning, we drove off, a car full of strangers, into Hostomel, which had just been liberated a couple of weeks ago.
The violence was all over the news, right? But you don't actually read these little things that people can tell you in the private conversation.
I was thinking, there are going to be films made about this time. We're going to have to tell these stories, and I want to be able to do that right. I couldn't switch off that acting reflex. While I was translating, I was okay. I was busy, I was concentrated.
But when I came back to the hotel and I was all alone in my room, I was like... And then everything like got me. I just came back to my Kiev. I just saw everything that they did to my native city.
We cancelled the big party. Got married in September instead. Just the two of us at City Hall. The air raid siren went off right when we arrived, and the staff wouldn't marry us until it was over, so we waited outside on the steps for half an hour. We ate burgers at the gas station. Me in the wedding dress, Vlad in a tux.
We went to the KFC, not KFC, not the fast food one. This is like a big reservoir of water near the Kiev. This is not actually a sea.
And we said our vows privately.
We just said what we felt at that moment. It's not easy to build something good. So it's the phrase that we often says to each other, like, we're gonna make it. We're gonna try and we're gonna make it. It's a little promise to ourselves.
Sometimes I've thought of leaving, sitting out the war far away, but I still can't face leaving Vlad, leaving my family. And I'd find it really hard to be around Western Europeans, having these theoretical conversations about how all weapons are bad, and we had to negotiate with Russia. Here, at least, I know that everyone around me gets it.
We're gonna have our lives back. We're gonna be able to travel around Ukraine. We're gonna be able to go to the Crimea and to see the sea and to celebrate it there. We're gonna be able to go abroad, have our jobs back, start filming again in Ukraine. And of course it's gonna be different and it's never gonna be the way it was before, but this is all that we want. These people on the front lines, they're fighting for us to have a normal life here. They don't want us to be sad. They don't want us to sit in our apartments crying all day long. They are fighting for us to be happy here and to have normal, as much as it's possible, life here. So they can come and see for what they were fighting. So that's our front line.